Finally, another podcast about Godzilla and all his giant monster friends.
This could be the end of civilization.
Yeah, probably. So join your hosts, Chris Chikini and Chris Casares.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you're listening to the podcast. From Odo Island. Welcome to the podcast from Odo Island. Find us on Twitter at Odo Island Pod. I am KES, and with me as always, a supersonic, idiotic, disconnected, not respected, who would ever really want to go and top that? Top that!
Oh my
Slick
god.
Chris.
Sip a claw for the working man.
Best one?
I think so. I think so.
Didn't practice. That was the first time I said that out loud.
I bet you stared in the mirror without saying it out loud, though. Just thought it in your head over and over and over again.
Looked real hard at myself.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't even, now that we are fully into year 2 of this podcast, we don't even hide what we are anymore.
I mean, technically, we're year 3.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, year 3.
We have completed 2 years, though. But, I mean, we should really be the podcast from Infant Island this week.
Why is that?
Because we watched Godzilla and Mothra battle for the Earth. Battle to save the Earth, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Battle
I always go Godzilla versus Mothra at 92.
Yeah, that's probably the best name for it.
Yeah.
I'm like looking up at my TV screen. I'm like, is that right? But anyways, the DVD I have of this says Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth.
That's one of the TriStar DVDs. I don't know. These like renamings of movies and taglines to movies. I just don't really. I don't commit too much of the gray matter in my head to those.
Yeah.
You know, I just go with the simple titles. That's me.
I think that's the best way to do it. I'm also not a big fan of like making sequel titles or titles in a different genre, like overly complicated.
Yeah. And, 80s and the 90s, at some point they just said, no, you know what? Everything's just Godzilla versus. And that's the way it should be.
And then in the 2000s, they're like, no, it's Godzilla X.
Yeah, well, you was a little edgy in the late 90s, early 2000s. You have that X in the middle. It's like, Surge, Cola.
Yeah, it's like Surge Cola, X in the middle, J-Lo's butt cleavage.
Before we dive into this, did you see how, speaking of edgy, like Mountain Dew has like rebranded as like being like a little bit edgier, and on the boxes is like, I don't know if it's officially Gamera or if it's like a Gamera
I did see
clone.
the Gamera, yes.
It's like edgy 90s Tony Hawk Gamera going on. So that's where we're at.
I did see that, and I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably.
I'm not a big fan of the Mitten Dew.
Oh yeah.
I'm a stickler for Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Also, our local, little known local brewery, Sam Adams, is making a hard Mountain Dew in collaboration with Pepsi. So
I could fuck with that.
We'll see how that goes.
I could definitely fuck with a hard Mountain Dew.
I used to drink like 5 Mountain Dews a day.
I remember those days. Yeah. When I was a little kid, I used to love Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
I kind of like stopped when I was like 12, 13 though.
It's like a little too sweet for me now, even if I do the diet-free ones.
Yeah.
Or diet sugar-free ones, whatever. But we're not here to talk about Mountain Dew. We're going to have the Mountain Dew podcast on our Patreon. That doesn't exist.
Can you imagine if we had to do a second podcast?
No. So, like you said, we did Godzilla versus Mothra, 92 this week. Shall I set the table for us?
Set it up, homeboy.
All right. So this movie was the biggest ticket sales for a Godzilla movie since 1962. So since King Kong versus Godzilla, and it was I think it came at the end of 1992, but it was technically the biggest domestic hit of 1993. But I mean, the biggest movie in Japan in 1993 was Jurassic Park, but this was the biggest, locally made movie. So at this point in the 90s, there's a lot of kind of abandoned projects, lost ideas. Originally coming off of Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, there was going to be King Ghidorah's counterattack was the leading idea for what the next movie was going to be, and that would have seen Godzilla not fight the Ghidorah from the future. Like, it would have actually been like an alien King Ghidorah, like kind of more in line with like his Showa roots and origins. But that idea was abandoned because it was very big for Toho and just cinema in general to tap into to have like a big like women's audience. And so at the time in the 90s, women were more prone to go to the movies than men in Japan, and so movie theaters were trying to gear their movies towards appealing to women. And so Mothra was the most popular kaiju with women, and so Godzilla vs. Mothra is how we ended up here. But originally, this was going to be a Mothra versus Bagan movie. Okay. So, are you familiar with Constant Lost Project Monster Bagan?
I have heard it referenced. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I mean that could be a whole podcast, but essentially, like Bagan was like a character name that was kicked around since like the 70s and 80s. And granted, his origin was a lot different, and like there was like lost projects in the 70s and 80s. But like, have you ever gotten to the end of like that Super Godzilla game for Super Nintendo?
No, I never.
So
I played it for 5 minutes, and that was that.
So he's the boss of that game, which is like the only like thing he has like come to fruition on. But he was like teased for all these like, not teased, but like was kind of considered for all these like lost projects in the 90s. And so like there was going to be a Godzilla versus Bagan movie. There was going to be a Mothra versus Bagan movie. They went so far as to kind of like craft a suit for Bagan, which like can be found in this like really.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, so like, but I think it's just a render. I don't think it's like an actual suit. I think it's often like misrepresented as being like an actual suit. But
okay,
I think it's a render of a suit. But so like the Mothra versus Bagan story isn't too drastically different than like what we got in Godzilla versus Mothra. Like, but instead of Godzilla filling the Bagan role, it's more Battra fills the Bagan role. And like Bagan's supposed to be like this like creature who is like kind of Earth's protector, like Earth is like Earth itself, not the people of Earth, and but like residing in Hong Kong, and like when like the health of the Earth is threatened, like Bagan awakes, just like kind of like Battra is like awakened by like the meteorite coming to Earth in this movie.
Right.
So essentially, that movie was kind of reformatted into like kind of a bit of like a lighthearted, quasi comedic movie between Mothra and Battra, but like, and Godzilla's just kind of like added in.
He's definitely just like a third wheel in this movie.
Yeah, and that is kind of like a holdover from like this like script being like recrafted. Mm. And but other interesting things that went on. The 1991 suit from Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, which is like used for like just a couple scenes in this movie where Godzilla's coming out of the volcano, was actually stolen during production.
Wow. Just like the AEW belt.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't left in the back of a limo, but it was stolen off of the set. And it made like international headlines like when it went missing for a week. And then very famously, some woman was like jogging along the shore one morning or walking along the shore and thought it was a dead body and just found the suit like on the shore. And the famous quote is that like when like the crew like saw the suit returned, like because it had to be like repaired so much from King Ghidorah that they were like distraught like that like this thing was like brought back, because they were just like, oh, we do have to like work on this thing now. Wow. So but it only gets used for like a couple scenes in the movie, and it's quick. There was also like originally an alternate ending to this movie, and maybe a little more. It's not too different.
The octopus eats Battra.
Yeah, yeah. Not too different from like what ends up happening, where in the final movie they pretty much just fall into the sea. Then Mothra, like with no explanation given, just like makes like her symbol appear like in the water. But originally it was kind of supposed to be Battra would kind of battle Godzilla out to sea, and Mothra would kind of like raise like a what was like city, the cosmos's like city that had sunken underwater, would like raise to the top, and like it would be like a way for Mothra to kind of use her power with like the submerged city to kind of like seal Godzilla away, not forever, but like, you know, to essentially kind of entrap him in a force field. He still kills Battra, which gives like Mothra enough time to like, you know,
so Godzilla would just be the imprisoned in this movie,
right?
That's a Skyward Sword reference.
Oh well, okay. Well, I didn't get that, but
yeah, Skyward Sword has a character called the Imprisoned, which is basically Ganon, and but he looks kind of like Godzilla, just a really goofy, stupid-looking Godzilla.
Oh, well, all right. Well, and I think that's pretty much it. I think for notable background and trivia,
cool,
about this movie. So kind of a interesting history. Like 90s are kind of, there's a lot of throwing shit to the wall, see what sticks in the 90s. But yeah, I mean, you know, it was like I said, it was an extremely successful, popular movie.
I could see that.
And I remember in the 90s, you know, in the heyday of like G-Fan magazine and reader polls, I remember it was like heresy to speak ill of this movie for several years.
Oh, I'm going to commit some heresy then today.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess let's just get into it. So, but what happens in this movie? Let's walk through it.
Before we get into that, I just want to say this. Recently, there's been a Twitter thing about that, you know, Legendary should give Godzilla back to Toho. And number one, you're stupid for saying that because clearly you don't understand how these things work. But number two, you're saying this because you don't like the human characters in the Monsterverse. Watch this movie and tell me what Toho does that the Monsterverse doesn't do. If you're you want divorcee Indiana Jones to be your main character, then okay, fine. Give Godzilla back to Toho. Then I think you're absolutely right.
I think his name is Fujita, but in my notes I kept referring to him as Indiana Rambo.
Yes,
because he's doing Indiana Jones shit, and then when he like gets arrested, he's like just kind of like wearing like Rambo's like attire, like the red bandana. It's like, oh, and in my notes I've seen this movie a shit ton of times, but I always like take notes for this podcast. And I was like, oh, Indiana Rambo doesn't pay his child support.
Yeah, he's a deadbeat dad who's a thief.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, the main hero of this movie.
And I'm just watching these people on the internet just being like, oh, the Monsterverse doesn't treat human characters right. Bah, bah, bah. I'm like, well, what does Toho do that's any better after watching this?
I think some of them, yes, this movie is not a good example. Actually,
I'm using this specifically as an example, not other movies, just to be clear.
Sure, yes. This is not this does not paint Toho the greatest light, use the characters in this movie.
Yes.
And like, he's supposed to be the hero. This isn't like Haru in the anime trilogy where he's supposed to be shitty. Like, Haru is like designed to be shitty. Like, this guy is like designed to be the hero.
Yeah.
Like, the director would give interviews going like, oh, I think like, you know, his growth is like the emotional anchor of the movie. It's like, no, it's not. He's a thief who decides to still be a thief throughout the movie.
There's a part later in the movie where he has the what are
the Cosmos?
The Cosmos. In
this movie, they call him the Cosmos.
Yes, thank you. He has the Cosmos, and his wife's like, I'm so ashamed of you for doing this. And then he's like, what you did isn't any better. You took our daughter here. And I'm just like, no, it is better. She's close with her daughter. She brought her with her. It makes fucking logical sense. This guy is just a thief and a scumbag.
They're having this conversation too, when he's literally like brokering a deal to sell the Cosmos.
Yes.
To America, something like that.
And like nobody, there aren't likable characters in this movie.
Yeah, and that's like what I always kind of think is like a problem with like the 90s Godzilla movies is like after Godzilla versus Biollante, like outside of like Miki Sagusa, who doesn't like really do shit in this movie.
Yeah, she's just kind of there.
Nobody's fucking likable in like the 90s Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
Like they're all just dull, you know, it's you get like these kind of characters like this guy who's just like an asshole. And then your other human cast, like they do in every single movie in the 90s, is like you get like the military people who just sit like in a control room and basically just watch whatever's happening like on a screen. That happens every single movie.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's like it's the same people watching a screen every movie. They're so dull. They're so bland. And I'm not. I've just never like been a big fan of like the '90s Godzilla movies.
And that's just sort of my point. Is just to be like, like all you dummies who just want to say this stuff on the internet to be edgy and cool. Like, you don't know how fucking stupid you sound, dude. Like I know when I sound fucking stupid on here, and it's fine. It's my gimmick. But like, you can't unfucking shit your pants on Twitter.
I didn't realize this is the Twitter attack episode.
It's not really
podcast.
an attack. I'm just sort of fucking lording over people.
Oh, I see.
So not you though. Like your online presence is very clean.
Yeah, I stay away from the Twitter squabbles. I don't understand most of them.
I get down in the muck a little bit.
I see it and I just like let it go by, and I just go, I don't know. What are we talking about here?
Yes.
But
you have better things to do with your day.
I'll fight with you over the best mustard on the planet, though.
But like that's something we could agree to disagree on. Like mustard preference is just,
sure.
It is what it is.
So the human characters aren't the best in this movie.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of. This movie tries to have like a very like it kind of tries to hit some of the story beats from like Mothra, the first one, and like Godzilla versus the Thing, just to keep it easier.
Yeah.
Where it's like it tries to keep like that anti-capitalist theme going.
Definitely, yeah.
But the evil anti-capitalist in this movie who owns like that company, like who like kidnaps the cosmos for a while, like he never gets his like comeuppance in the movie.
No.
Like he's just kind of forgotten about.
And like characters want like to kill Mothra. He's trying to kill Mothra.
Oh, let's not bring that meme back.
I just want to make a joke.
But like, it's just like he's just kind of like the other God, what's his name? Like Ando, I think is his name. Like the one who like turns babyface, like towards the end of the movie, where he goes like, "Godzilla's gonna come and destroy you for your greedy ways," and he just kind of like storms out, and like the evil capitalist guy is like, "Grr."
And that's it.
How dare you?
Yeah.
And then he's like just never seen again.
Yeah, I was going to
like,
say, and that's a series wrap for him.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Why couldn't Godzilla just kind of come in and stomp his company while he's.
You could have had a nice little scene real quick where, just much like in Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, where he just blows the guy away who he recognizes.
Yeah.
Like, could have had that. But
well, that's a good human moment in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say that the characters in that movie are so much better than the ones in this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you got established baby faces and heels, and then you have like a really kind of weird love thing going on between relatives.
This, like, I don't know, this movie to me felt like I was almost watching, like, if the Godzilla movies of the 90s were like a TV show, like this almost felt like a Monster of the Week type. Like, this felt like the most, if you're going to do a Godzilla movie as safe as possible, this is like it.
Well, you have Battra, though. Battra is like a new thing.
Yeah.
And one thing they do right here is they're not embarrassed by their exposition. Like, a lot of times movies will think they have to have a flashback and like explain like why Mothra and Battra were at odds and stuff like that. But this movie is just kind of like, yeah, Mothra is a protector of the world, and Battra was trying to destroy it, and they fought.
Well, Batra's trying to protect it as well,
but for its own different reasons.
Yes.
So,
although it does kind of like Mothra's people like were in the wrong, because like the Cosmos talking about going like, yeah, well, we had like these like scientists that were like basically trying to drain like the Earth's energy, and then Battra kind of showed up and
was it like a weather type of situation?
In the Japanese subtitle version that I watched, they say that their scientists were trying to like drain. Yeah, there's a reference to weather, but they say like what we were doing was draining the Earth's energy.
Okay.
And Battra shows up and basically like rocks their world.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Like the way it was explained in this one was that after they do that, Battra shows up and kills them and then keeps going.
Oh, I see. So you watched the TriStar dubbed version, yeah.
And so it's like Mothra seemed more like a baby face in this one. But that's interesting. Shades of gray for Mothra. Yeah,
I think they're. I think Battra is a little bit more. It's a little bit more black and white, whereas Mothra is, shades of gray. Mothra's got like a civilization to protect,
Yeah.
which seems like she didn't really succeed in doing, as there seems to only be 2 Cosmos left. And Battra just kind of seems like, this seems bad. So, to me. So, I'm gonna mess you up.
Yeah. But like, yeah, the thing this movie does great is you can either have, like, if you want to take a step back and distract people from like what's going on in the movie for a minute, give them a breather, you can have a flashback and explain like their history.
Sure.
Or if you want to keep them there, stay focused, keep your eye on the movie, keep their attention on like progressing through this one story that they're trying to tell. You just have a couple lines of exposition, you explain it real quick, and you establish it. And that's what they did in this movie, and they did it really well.
And they had a little wall mural to kind of tie it all together.
Yeah. Like, you can have that. That's fine. And it's kind of like, when you properly explain like the history of like these things that are feuding, and just like a cut, like 30 seconds at the most, like, you're doing something right.
Yep.
That's good storytelling. So I appreciate that.
And I'll say, like, kind of stepping away from the story in the movie itself, like Battra, especially in his like larvae design, I think is awesome. I love Battra's design.
I was gonna say I like the fully formed Battra better, but the larvae form was cool.
Yeah, I always thought the larvae one was like just really like badass looking and stuff. I mean, I do like his flying form a lot too.
Yeah.
And also, I forgot to mention the trivia part. Like Battra, they decided on his name being Battra because it was supposed to represent, or it was supposed to kind of be like Battle Mothra was like what they were going for.
Okay.
Like a name that was supposed to kind of symbolize that. And I was like, yeah, he is kind of like the war hardened. He's the war doctor of Doctor Who.
Yeah,
he's John Hurt.
There's similarities between Battra and Mothra. Like, Battra has the same face basically as Mothra, like the same mouth, and
he's just got Rodan's roar from the fucking 60s.
So you gotta tell me stuff like that, because I'm not gonna get it.
Oh well, I mean, So Ghidorah has a modified version of Rodan's roar in the 91 movie. Take a shot. Battra has Rodan's roar, and then in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Rodan has Rodan's roar. So they just said, we're just gonna not really go too deep into the roar department in the 90s. And Godzilla in this movie doesn't use his new roar from the last 3 movies. He uses a sample of his roars from the 60s.
Okay.
In this movie, which I always thought like a little weird. I was like, what did all that change?
See, like, I need you to point that out to me, because I'm not going to pick up on it unless it's like super noticeable.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Here I am.
Thank you. No, I did not get that at all.
Mothra keeps her classic roar. That's good. Although I think there is one point where the Mothra in her larva form is getting hit with missiles, and like she kind of does like a kind of low muted roar to kind of show she's in pain. I think it's actually Angurus's roar, like slowed down, I think, a little bit.
He's like, all right, Godzilla.
Okay. And I guess while I'm at it, because I don't think I said this when we did Space Godzilla, but Space Godzilla's roar is like it's a pitch shifted Gigan's roar with like, and they put some like I don't know, fucking effects over it. But
okay.
But yeah, they didn't make a new roar for Space Godzilla. They just kind of fucked with Gigan's old roar. So in the 90s, they weren't putting the time in with those roars.
Yeah, I forgive them. If you're gonna pass over something, at least they didn't use like stock footage and stuff, and like over and over and over again, and like stuff that doesn't like edit well together.
Yeah,
like for the most part, these movies are pretty seamless in their transitions.
Yeah. I think the only glaring use of stock footage in the entire 90s is like in Space Godzilla when they use.
I was gonna say Space Godzilla is the only one that kind of just sucks.
Yeah,
and like the rest of them are fairly well made.
Yeah,
from what I've seen. Anyway.
I don't think there's any stock footage in this movie. I mean, like I kind of referenced like in the kind of setting the table segment, that they use the 91 Godzilla suit for like the scenes like where Godzilla's like around the volcano and stuff like that, and I feel like that's a noticeable difference from like that suit to the suit that was made for this movie.
Yeah,
because like the 91 Godzilla, like he's got like like a big rounded barrel chest.
Yeah,
and then he's like kind of like leaner like in the waist, whereas like Godzilla like the Godzilla suit for this movie is like just kind of. I don't want to say like, I guess it's like just thicker, like overall, like that's kind of like the look that like Godzilla's going to keep for the rest of the series. But I feel like when you see one scene with the 91 suit, because it's so like that's like it casts a silhouette.
I think that's like the best suit of that era is the
I think so.
The Ghidorah one.
I think that's a top 3 suit right there for me.
Yeah.
I love that suit. And it's, I don't know, it's too bad they didn't like keep with it because it has like such a cool profile.
Yes.
And yeah. But there's like other like cool things too, like in that Godzilla does, like where he fights like the maser jets. I don't know what else to call them. Jets that shoot maser cannons. And there's always been like a long running joke about how like Godzilla only destroys one. So like the other one just like was like, nope, I'm peacing out. And it's just like kind of kept away somewhere.
He's the pilot is still living in the jungle 30 years later.
Oh, is this now going to be like how you said on Twitter that Frankenstein conquers the world in the MonsterVerse? Is this going to be like, well, at the time it wouldn't work out, but like that's what John C. Reilly was.
Well, I was going more in like after Japan surrendered in World War II, they still had soldiers living in the jungle for 30 years afterwards. And if the Hesei Godzilla movies can use World War II, so can I.
Okay. So we haven't like talked like a ton about Godzilla, but we kind of like alluded to what we kind of think of Godzilla in this movie.
Yeah, he's not the focus. He's in it plenty. Like, I don't think there's a very like big lull in action with the monsters.
No.
You get a good battle scene in the ocean.
Yeah.
And you get the big fight at the end in Tokyo. So it's not like I didn't leave this movie thinking like, they really kind of fucked up. Like, as long as like the other monsters are there to sort of fill the gap and do stuff, like the movie can progress naturally.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. It's sort of like a bummer that you don't get like Godzilla to be the focus of this movie, but
yeah.
Also, this is the 20th Godzilla movie at this point.
There's 14 Showa, 15, 16, 17, 18. It's like 18 or 19.
Okay, so it's right around there. Like,
oh, sorry. No, this probably is like 19 or 20.
Yeah. So you've had 20 of these movies put out, plus other movies featuring the other monsters. So it's like, it's forgivable.
Yeah, it's just weird that he's like, Godzilla is not a plot point in this movie, really. Like,
he's more of like a I don't want to say the main boss of the movie. He's more of like a secondary boss of this movie.
Yeah, like, I mean, his only purpose in this movie is to get Mothra and Battra to like work together.
Yes.
Like that's pretty much it. Like other than that, like he's in the background. The whole focus is the Mothra Battra feud.
He's kind of like Mechagodzilla.
In like what, like the Showa era? And
no,
stuff like that?
In Godzilla vs. Kong.
Oh. Yeah,
he's kind of in that role.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's a little weird for this being Godzilla's series that he's filling that role. Like, it's just it's like whenever I watch this movie, I was like, Godzilla could be replaced by like anything.
Anything,
in
yes.
This movie.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't have to be Godzilla.
And and it's all the other. Well, I do not love all the other '90s movies. Like, I've always said like the best thing they do is like Godzilla is like a very coherent character like throughout like the 90s, and he's like the character that grows the most like through these movies, even though like the movies aren't that great in my opinion. But like this one was like, nope, he's just
there's two good Hesei movies, I'd say. Two really good ones.
Oh, I think Biollante is. Well, I think
that was one of them.
I think 84, Biollante, and Destroyer, great.
I'd say Biollante and Destroyer are great.
Yeah. Okay, I would say 84 is good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say it's great, but Biollante, I think in particular is like the best by like a country mile to me.
I'm more of a Destroyer fan.
Yeah.
I think that movie's a little bit better, but Biollante is definitely right behind it.
But again, all those movies, there's like a whole like Godzilla's very critical to the plot. Godzilla's just kind of
100%
there for like he's John Cena making an appearance at your house show to sell tickets in your area.
Yeah.
That's what he is in this movie.
So Godzilla kind of takes a back seat in his own movie here, and it's kind of a drag, but like there's enough meat in the bone where it's still I would call this a good movie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's anything like overly bad about this movie. Like there's dumb stuff with the humans, but like other than that, like you could sit down and watch this beginning to end and it's fine.
It's very, like I said, it's very safe.
Yes, yeah. It's safe in the sense that they didn't take many risks with like the plot or like what happens, but they did take they at least introduced Battra, which I think is a little bit of a risk.
Yeah, never gets used again.
Never get used again, which is kind of a shame because like I think Battra's cool, but like you still had Mothra there and you still had Godzilla there, so
yeah, and they kind of rehash a lot of like story beats from like their other movies together and stuff like that.
And one good thing about this movie is like excusing like the bridge collapse scene at the beginning with the people and like how
the Indiana Jones part 2 scene,
how that looks kind of aside from that, like everything in this movie looks really good.
I think for the special effects they get pretty good, like whenever like whenever somebody has to like lift up the cosmos, like usually that stuff like I'd be like, oh my god, like that's gonna look shitty. Like it actually looks pretty good in this movie.
It's seamless, but for me, most of the stuff that I think looks really good is like the diet building where Mothra is making her cocoon.
Oh yeah,
like I think that scene's fantastic, and whoever put that together really deserves like an award because like that was probably like so hard to do.
Yeah,
like shooting that stuff and like the string in the air and like gradually making it like cover her up and everything. I was like, this is like the best scene in this movie. Oh
yeah, and I think that's I always like it like when Godzilla or any of the Toho kaiju or kaiju in general just like smaller, you can put a lot more detail into those miniatures, and I think that's like a benefit that Mothra gets like in that scene. I also think too like having like the final fight take place at like that like kind of harborside area with like the carnival and the Ferris wheel.
It's very
that's a cool place to have a fight.
Yes, it's the scenery is very good in that. Plus you have like half water, half on land stuff going on. A lot of it's beams and stuff too, and they look good. So it's like that's sort of like the big thing about Hesei movies is like everyone
just beam battles,
like a beam battle and stuff like that.
I mean, that's what they are.
But if it works, it works, and I think it works here. I had no problem with the fight scenes here.
Well, I was reading and so I get like a lot of like material for like the background stuff from this book by David Callett, and like he does a really good job of like kind of capturing like statements from like interviews and stuff like that. And they were just like, oh well, like we had to give Mothra like beams to fire, and like because like it had to be like a beam battle because like it just like wouldn't look good if like Godzilla's fighting with like two giant bots, and like to that I kind of go like I was like it looks good in 1964.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you don't need to give Mothra a beam. You could have Battra have the beam though. Yeah, and that would have been fine. Like you could have Battra have a beam from her mouth or whatever, and then from the horn too, so she could have two different colors going off. Like you could have Battra do the work for Mothra in that respect. Yeah. And Mothra has like the glitter
because it works well when they're doing like Mothra's like reflective scales and like Battra's shooting his beam into the scales to like kind of hit Godzilla. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yes.
I also like too in that fight where like when Mothra's like on her back, like Godzilla could just fire his ray right into Mothra's gut, but instead he goes, no, I'm gonna blow up the base of this Ferris wheel and just drop it on you.
He does establish himself well as a heel in this movie.
Yes. This is Godzilla is just a dick in this movie.
And it makes sense because he turned heel during the Ghidorah movie.
Yeah, he was tweener.
Well, he was heel. I think he was good guy at first because he was getting rid of Ghidorah. And then they're like, but we still kind of hate Godzilla. So then
I think their interests just aligned.
They pushed him over the line. Bit. They pushed him over the line, so he turned heel.
Well, I think it's more fair to say Godzilla's always kind of like in a tweener state in most like the 90s movies, except for this one. He's a heel in this one. Yeah. Like, I mean, he just goes trying to blow up Mothra's egg for like no good reason.
I feel like he's more babyface and Destroyer, though.
Oh, yeah. Now he's like the anti-hero by then. So. Yeah. But also him like blow up the Ferris wheel like gives us the cool babyface turn spot with Battra when he like he gets to grab the Ferris wheel, and then Godzilla just kind of stands there while he rams it into his head. And then they go to
that's a good way of describing what happened.
Yeah, Godzilla just kind of stands there and he's like, oh shit, What's going to happen now? Oh, he's coming right for me. Maybe I should do something.
He's the wrestler on the outside waiting for the guy to jump over the ropes onto him.
Yeah, off mic I was
Tope suicida.
Yeah, I was complaining about how in Young Bucks matches in AEW that too many people just stand around.
You're not wrong.
That's for our Patreon podcast that doesn't exist. But what like kills me though, like how I referenced like the alternate ending, which still isn't whatever. It's kind of
when the
whatever.
octopus eats.
Yeah. This is the second movie in a row that ends with let's carry Godzilla out to sea.
Yep.
Dump him out to sea.
And that's that.
After Godzilla like blasts one of the protagonists like in the face at like point blank range. And then,
we was biting him at first.
Oh yeah, you get the gushing of green blood. Yeah, because Godzilla's like covered in blood.
It's not green from what I saw. It was like more of a yellow.
Oh, mine's like it seemed okay. Yeah, greenish yellowish.
It's Gatorade colored. It's lemon lime Gatorade colored.
There is a lot of like mounting evidence that I might be colorblind that I just have not figured it out till my late 30s, but we can talk about that off mic. But but either way, yeah, he's covered in a lot of blood, and I was like, all right, that's pretty good. Then he blasts him in the face. They're like, how like just go to let you know that Battra's dead. His eyes turn off.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, second movie in a row where the ending is we carry Godzilla out to sea and we dump him in the sea.
That's a cop out.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could have done something like what else are you gonna do? I get it, but at the same time, don't do the thing you just did. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's two movies back to back.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I don't know. Booked yourself into a corner.
That's a WCW move.
Yep, booked yourself into a corner.
Finish this pay-per-view with a DQ finish.
Yeah, that's so yeah, that's kind of whatever, but and then Mothra goes to space to try to take over Battra's role of destroying the meteorite coming to Earth that I don't think gets mentioned in the next movie. I don't really remember, but
mission accomplished.
Yeah, well, it's going to be if you recall, it's a potential setup for one of the origins proposed for Space Godzilla is that if it's not Biollante, I like to more think it's Biolante's cells that became Space Godzilla.
It'd be better if it was Biollante.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the more. I mean, there's not like
Biollante was the better movie, and it's the better combination of cells.
And if you remember, like in Space Godzilla, they say, "Oh, it's either Biollante or Mothra carried Godzilla's cells to space," and like they say, like they don't know which it is. It's probably one or the other. But I think it's. I feel like
Let's go with Biollante.
Yeah, because it makes
the better one.
It makes them a
story.
family.
Yeah,
it makes them a family, and that's like, it's. I feel like that's like a cool thing about like Space Godzilla. That is like that movie's kind of trash, but I do like the fact that like Space Godzilla is essentially like Godzilla and Biollante's space brother.
Good in concept, just bad in execution.
Yeah, like I just love the idea that like Space Godzilla is like, I'm just gonna go to Earth to fuck up my brother. And I'm gonna start.
He's Golbez.
He's like, I'm gonna start with beating up his kid.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. Space Godzilla is straight up like he's tied with probably like King Ghidorah for being like the most, just like from the get go, most like vindictive, evil character. Destroyer's up there too, but Space Godzilla is like, no, I can stay up here in space, but I gotta go there and kick the shit out of my nephew.
I feel like Destroyer had to evolve into it, where Space Godzilla
was born with it.
Yeah,
he was molded by it.
I was born in the darkness.
I was born in a black hole.
You're adopted by it.
And he's just like, I'm gonna go beat up little Godzilla in his like cutesy stage. That's what I'm gonna do.
And at least the good thing about Hesei over Showa is that they did Godzilla's child better.
Oh yeah,
in the Hesei series.
The best part of the '90s is Godzilla as a character, and Junior, baby, whatever you want to call him.
Come the Destroyer movie, Junior's fucking awesome. Junior's like one of the best parts of that movie.
Yeah, and I think it's been a long time since I've seen Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, but I think he's even though he's like born in that movie, I think he's likable in that movie. They do it well, But yeah, the '90s movies are always just kind of like a mixed bag for me, and this one's like this one's no different.
Best way to describe the '90s is a mixed bag, and absolutely, this is the mixed bag of mixed bags for the '90s.
Yeah,
Like I know, like I enjoy Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, but I know you are.
Well, I like it.
I think you like parts of it, but you hate like what it did to the Hesei era.
Well, I just think that the time travel plot
that's what I mean.
was just so poorly handled.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like once you just kind of go, okay, they did all this time travel to essentially, they just don't do a good job explaining as to why you're just right in the same, why nothing has ultimately changed.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much it. You have to kind of fill in those very convoluted Godzilla history blanks like yourself. But other than that,
the way I move past it is like stuff is very different, but like everyone doesn't realize it, so they never acknowledge it. That's how I look at it personally.
Wait, say that again?
That's how I get through. This is how I get through the Terminator series.
Well,
stuff, everything has changed, but everyone doesn't know it's changed, so nobody acknowledges it.
No, because they come back and they say, "Why do we still remember everything happening the way it did?" And it's because like it ultimately didn't change anything.
The KES has no memory of this.
So it's like when they transport the Godzillasaurus off the island and they go, okay, like, well, he's never going to get exposed to radiation now. They just like essentially dumped him in a place where he just gets exposed to radiation again. And thus the timeline just continues on uninterrupted. Like it's just where he got exposed changed. But it doesn't change the fact that like that because that's not the same Godzilla from 1954. So,
right. It's
so like
completely different. Yeah.
So Godzilla gets exposed to radiation like in the 70s.
It's
reappears in the 80s.
It's the same technically, but it's different. It looks way different, and it's a different monster entirely. Basically,
no, I think it's exactly the same. It's just where he got exposed was different.
Well, I'm just saying like from that point forward because they acknowledge like, oh, Godzilla looks way bigger now.
But it's still the same Godzilla.
That's what I'm saying. It's the same Godzilla.
No. He gets bigger because he gets exposed to that other nuclear submarine.
That's what I mean. Like it's a different radiation, so he looks different.
But
they still remember everything that already previously happened.
Right, but that nuclear submarine is his second exposure to a massive radiation source.
Gotcha.
So like he grows in response because they send that submarine to go look to see if Godzilla is still where they think he's supposed to be, and like he absorbs that radiation and grows bigger.
Yeah,
but he was already still the 80-meter Godzilla that was in 84 in Biollante.
But that's only because the whole Earth gave this radiation.
See, it's so fucking confusing. They shouldn't have done
the mental gymnastics I do to justify that movie.
It's but like it's fine. It's just like because they ultimately say we didn't ultimately change the timeline. They just don't do. They just kind of gloss over it, and they just kind of go, I guess we didn't really succeed. There's like a throwaway line where they go like, oh no, we got exposed to radiation in the 70s. Or, 70s, I think it was. And then they accidentally juice him up.
He's looking juiced!
Yep. So I guess now that we just recapped Godzilla versus King Ghidorah.
Good, I like that movie.
Yeah, I like it too. It's a good movie. How do we rank this one in our 1-star jobber to 5-star main eventing the Tokyo Dome scale?
Well, let's look at it from an objective lens. Is this movie a jobber? Absolutely not.
No.
It's not a bad movie to watch. It's short enough to where you can watch it in one sitting, not get bored with it. Is it a 5-star? Is it the best Godzilla movie ever? Is it top tier? I don't know if anyone who's seriously talking about Godzilla would rank this among the top 5.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Like maybe top 10, you could make a case for it, but that's personal preference. I don't know if this is anyone's favorite movie. Certainly not mine. And that's so now we've established this as a various mid-card tier movie.
Yeah.
Now, it's all personal preference. Is this your WCW TV title champion? Is this your Intercontinental champion? Is this your US champion? Or is this like a world champion who lost the title, has moved down the card to a 4-star or something like that? It's all personal preference for me.
This never-weight 6-man. Never-weight 6-man.
For me, this is right down the middle. Like nothing offensive, looks great. A good representation of a Godzilla movie. 3 stars from me. The only part I didn't like was the humans.
Yeah, this is very middle of the pack for me, and I was initially leaning towards 2-star, but then I go, Battra is really cool.
Yeah.
So Battra makes it 3 stars.
Yeah.
And it's a shame we don't have more Battra. I mean, we got him in video games, and
I was gonna say, like, that's like the only thing you can really I could think of with Battra in it, aside from this movie, is the video games.
He's got a lot of sweet merch. I'll tell you. I mean, there's not like a ton of Battra merch, but like, I got some like little like chibi like in finger puppet style figures of like Battra in the lava form. They look great.
Is there a bag clip Battra?
Yes, there is.
Oh.
I had to think for a second. There is. Yeah.
Well, you have enough of them to know.
I know. Well, it's that's almost 100 bag clips. I had to like kind of remember like where we're at, but it's him and his is it Amago or Amigo? I've never actually said that out loud in my life. I've read it a million times, but I have never said that word out loud in my life.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he had some cool Trendmasters figures. He's like one of like the relatively like unchanged Trendmasters figures, like already kind of because like I guess he's like a little jacked looking.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you've never seen this movie and you want a description of him, think Mothra, but like black, red, and yellow.
Yeah,
and just like ready to fight.
Yeah, he's badass looking.
He's very badass. He took over from Mac in Project Badass.
I don't know, like, if you brought him back though, it's like, how do you bring him back without like
you just retcon it? You can't like have it like play into the Hesei series.
You don't. Yeah, you'd have to get like a new origin and stuff.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, because I kind of think like, well, like they used Mega Gearus or updated the Mega Nulons for like, Godzilla versus X Mega Gearus. Sorry, and I was like, oh, what if that was like Battra? Then I kind of go, maybe you don't tarnish Battra like that. Maybe it's like you gotta find like the right.
I have seen people online just really like Mega Gearus.
No, but I more meant like, he's got like a pretty rich origin and backstory here. It's like if you strip that away and make him a little bit more generic, like Mega Gearus can fill that role because like all Mega Gearus was before that movie was like the Mega Nulon insects that Rodan eats when he hatches in 1956.
Yeah.
So like, there's no backstory there that you're like kind of erasing. So, maybe it's just maybe he's just too beautiful for the world. I don't know.
I'm going to make an appeal right now to Playmates to make a Battra figure.
That would be great.
Because they're doing Gorosaurus. And
yeah, gloves are off when you're doing Gorosaurus.
Give me a nice Playmates Battra.
Yeah.
Playmates is good enough now where I could say those figures are nice. Give me a nice Battra.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Playmates is fucking getting wild these days. And maybe that's a good segue into our figure conversation.
Yeah, we unfortunately, I'm not even going to ask you because we already talked about it offline. Neither of us got anything.
No, well,
like you
I
ordered
got wrestling.
Stuff.
Yes, I ordered stuff, and I got a bunch of wrestling stuff.
I got like a Sabu and a Sandman figure for my. Like, if you look behind me, I said 20 figures, and I'm approaching 50.
Yeah, I got a Hikaru Shida. I was pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, when you said that to me, it prompted me to go out for a fig hunt. Unfortunately for me, I woke up that day with a really bad calf cramp.
Oh,
yeah, those things are brutal.
Oh,
yeah, I don't know if you ever wake up and like try to stretch out and you get a really.
And like I feel like a '90s Godzilla movie.
No, it's like your calf just like stiffens up to like a rock.
Oh yeah,
and like it's just like super painful for a minute, and then it alleviates, and you just go back to bed for an hour.
Yeah, you were listed as probable on the
like
the fantasy football death trap.
Whenever an athlete says like calf cramps, I'm like, yeah, like I understand, dude. Like no problem from me.
Y'all gotta drink more water.
I was out drinking the night before.
Oh,
so it does explain things,
but yeah, so we don't have purchases to talk about, but we can talk about figures on the horizon.
Yeah, there's been like aside from the Gorosaurus from Playmates, which looks fantastic. Like, I hope it looks as good as the pictures I've seen of it. Like, make me feel like because I feel like for $13, whatever that thing's gonna go for, like that's really good.
Well, people are finding them in the wild now, and those pictures are holding up to the prototype.
Good.
But also like it's wild that like so Playmates is like, all right, here comes our original line of our original creations now. We're not using Bandai molds. We're away from Godzilla vs. Kong. you're gonna get Burning Godzilla, which is pretty good. I like the Burning Godzilla.
Bikini Godzilla is awesome.
Yep. Jet Jaguar, well, granted, it has a little problem standing. Like, still though, I think it's pretty good.
I have old Playmates figures from the 80s and 90s that also have a problem standing. So,
no, so there you go.
They haven't quite figured that part out.
So, like, first I'm kind of like, I was like, oh, like, that's kind of funny. Like, they, like, Jet Jaguar, like, well, you know, he's kind of, like, trendy with the collectors. And then just, like, they must, like, be, like, going, like, all right, what do, like, collectors want more so than kids? Because they're just like,
yes.
Yo, you're getting Gorosaurus, and you're getting, like, 1956 Rodan is what you're getting.
And like, they specifically listed as 56 Rodan.
I mean, it's a pretty distinct design.
Yeah, it's a baller move.
It's that to me is also like the coolest looking Rodan. Is like I love the 56 Rodan, and also that's two figures that like their Bandai counterparts, like their original Bandai counterparts, are super fucking rare and super fucking expensive.
Interesting.
And also like not two figures or two characters in figure form that are very represented.
Yeah,
so
especially
like,
Gorosaurus.
And so it's like, yeah, it's like, so you're getting like this like two underrepresented figures for like that look great for like, yeah, whatever they sell for like $10, $12, whatever they are. It does.
Sign me right up. Like, yeah. I don't even care about that stuff. Like I kind of do, but it's not my motivation to get the figure. Like, I saw the figure and said, I want it. Like,
yeah,
that looks good. Like, that's a good figure.
And I bet, like, you know, like, from what I understand, I guess, like, Jurassic Park figures are, like, really popular right now. Like,
yes.
Maybe Gorosaurus, like, is, maybe someone's like, hey, that'll kind of get, like, a little, like, crossover appeal. Because Godzilla's very popular right now. And then you get something that, like, looks like a Jurassic Park type character.
I don't know who has the license for the Jurassic Park stuff, but I see it in stores all the time when I'm going to look for the toy stuff.
Everywhere.
And I'm like, it looks good. It's a little pricey, but it looks good.
Here we are in 2021, and Godzilla and Jurassic Park are like dominant things on on shelves right now in stores.
I'm cool.
It's great. Yeah. I love it. Ninja Turtles are a huge thing again.
I need a Raph in a bathtub figure, NECA.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like, I need it. Like that. Like, I haven't gotten any of your movie figures, but if you put Raph in a tub, there's no way I'm not getting it. Like, that's like the most like coveted figure I have.
Let's use Twitter for good and start the hashtag Raph in the tub. Like,
it made such an impression on me as a child watching my favorite turtle just like dead in a tub for half a movie.
You gave me a birthday card drawing of that
once. Like, give me that figure, please. Yeah. Like, give it to me. Like, hook it to my veins.
So, you brought this up off mic, about like the Mondo statues that are starting to come out.
Yeah, that was the next topic I wanted to talk about too.
Yeah.
Typically when like cartoon figures translate to 3D, like Simpsons stuff, like there's like a little bit of a disconnect in like how it translates. I didn't see that with this. I thought this looked really good. I don't know who the sculptor was.
So we're talking about the Hanna-Barbera.
The Hanna-Barbera
Godzilla
TV
statue,
Godzilla statue,
yeah.
Easy. It sounds easy to make, but like I know, like it's like difficult, and this looked really good. Really, really.
There's
good.
someone on Etsy who's actually been 3D printing his own like Hanna-Barbera Godzilla figures, and like those look really good too, and like. So those are like also like $120, $130.
Yeah.
The statue is like $120, $130. And like I was like kind of complaining about off camera. Oh, God, I said off camera again. Off mic. Is that like
Bro, pal.
Is that I'm sorry, let me do that again. Is that Mondo is like something goes on pre-order, no protection against bots and scalpers.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Those things just get scooped right up. No fans like actually get them. The website like is all sorts of fuckery, and it's just yeah. And also I think some of the shit like is Mondo shit is like way too overpriced. I think like
I'd say that, but I fucking bought a $250 wrestling ring, so I can't really talk about pricing on figures at this point.
Well, maybe like 120 for that statue isn't too bad, but it's like. It's
too much.
They did like a Mothra statue and a Godzilla 89 statue a couple months ago. That was like again super short pre-order with like as far as I know like Super 7, right? When they just did like that Shogun minifigure.
Yes.
Like they put a 2 per person
That's
cap.
the move. That
and,
is the move.
Like, and Mondo doesn't do shit like that, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And but also like
by 50
that Mothra statue and that Godzilla statue, like they were like $350. And I was like, that first, it's not going to hold its value. Second, like
it's a lot of money for like something that like there's so much Godzilla merch that like how do you really justify spending that much money on it?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. To me, statues aren't super cool. Like figures are cool. Like action figures are cool.
Well, action figures you can just treat as statues.
Yeah.
So you have
posable,
the option.
But they're posable, articulated.
Exactly.
You know,
that's how I treat mine. Like all mine are have tons of articulation, but I just pose them in a certain way. I try to get them as similar as possible, but
static statues just aren't really. They don't really do it for me.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
But I saw this and I was like, excellent job with that. Like it looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, there is literally very minimal Hanna-Barbera Godzilla merchandise. There's a plush from the 70s that I think was kind of released alongside it. But I mean, it doesn't look like the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla. It's just kind of like a weird stuffed Godzilla. But yeah, I mean, you know, it is cool. I just wish it wasn't Mondo and their bullshit doing it. But
if this were like $60, I'd probably get it.
Yeah.
I think that's my cap on something like this.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You're not going to have a chance to get it anyway because the second it goes on sale, it's all going to be scooped up by like bots and scalpers anyway. So.
I spent $250 on a wrestling ring and some rare figures, so I'm not spending any more.
Listen, I just spent several $100s on a Trendmasters Agurus figure, and then and then I am on pace to because I haven't paid for shipping yet, but I got the I was telling you like I got the Godzilla Singular Point Blu-ray for the first third of the series that comes with the exclusive Godzilla Ultima figure.
Yeah.
And I mean, that shit, even before like shipping, was like $150 or whatever it was. And but the FOMO was real on that.
No, like FOMO, like that's what hooked me to that ring was that Macho Man figure. I was like, I can miss on anything. And then they're like, Macho Man WrestleMania 10 with the headset. I was like,
yeah,
I was like, if I see this on eBay in 2 years for $350, like I am gonna look back and just be like, you piece of shit, Chris. Fuck you, dude.
Well, I mean, by the same token, of like the next 2 Singular Point Blu-ray sets, like they haven't announced like a exclusive figure with those sets yet. But like if they do, like
they got to do the wolf chimpanzee. As one of them.
Salunga needs a figure.
Yeah.
And we need like a final form Jet Jaguar figure. And I'm actually really surprised that they have not announced, like they've announced like those Blu-ray sets are coming out in September and October, but they haven't announced like a version that comes with like an exclusive figure.
Salunga is definitely like the best monster in that series, I think.
From like a design perspective.
Design-wise, yeah.
Yeah, I think that or
Ultima is really cool. Don't get me wrong, but
I love the Anguirus design too. I think that's great.
He's all gold. Like to me, it looks cool, but like he's just so tiny. Like you know, if they made him like a hulking monster.
No, yeah. I mean, I guess if you don't talk about like the size, like design wise, it was like he's like.
I'm speaking strictly from the show. Like Salunga for me in the show. Is the coolest monster.
He's the workhorse of that show.
He is the intercontinental champion of Singular Point.
You know, I actually like in my head I try to go like, all right, he's not just like not Gabra, like because like I think he's so cool that he should be standing on his own as his own creation. Yeah. Yes, he has Gabra influences in his design, but I think by the end of that series, I was like, no, he's like his own thing.
Yeah,
and I just I hope if there is a season 2, I hope like his like blood feud with BB just continues through season 2 because I feel like that is like that was like the low key subplot we were getting in the first season was like
looking back, you're right.
Yeah, I was like Salunga versus BB is like, and I liked BB, but like God, I really hope Salunga like kills him in the second season. It'd be so good.
BB's thing is like he always he's like Salunga's Undertaker and BB's Mankind. Give me that.
Yeah. And and I hope in season 2, as much as I like BB, I would love it if Salunga threw him from the top of a building.
They've killed him.
Maze of the Psycho God, they killed him.
That's exactly what I was going for. Is when he does get there.
Yeah.
Push it back to season 3, episode 1. Start off with a bang.
It's going to be, or
if they did that and they started off season 3 with a bang, I'd probably be like, this is now a top tier Godzilla series.
Or alternatively, Salunga and BB just kind of get tired of feuding and end up in a jam together, and they have to help each other to get out.
So
they kind of become buddies, and then they become the bar, and then they get a place together and just kind of kind of hang out. Yeah, exactly. It's do shit like that.
I have no idea, Salunga. No idea.
I either want Salunga to kill him, or I want them to become bros that live together.
I think BB has to make it through one season of just I got you again, and then season 3 you started off, you Jaws the Revenge It, where he kills off the little kid.
Oh boy,
as the adult.
What a grim turn that would be.
That's how I would book it,
Yeah, all right, very good.
But
well, shall we move on to the kayfabe portion of our show?
Yeah. OIWF time, where we keep our secrets.
That's right, in the kayfabe zone of the podcast.
Yep. Man, so much has happened in the past couple weeks in the OIWF. So much.
And new OIWF World Heavyweight Champion. He has climbed the top of the mountain finally.
He did it.
Trendmasters Anguirus holds the richest prize in the industry.
Homegrown talent.
Yep, and that harkens back to the earliest days of the OIWF when we used to let the fans vote. And by vote, I mean they do not decide the winners, the competitors themselves, decide the winner, but having the fan support in those old polls and voting contests, it did a lot for their mental state. Usually the one who got the most votes ended up being the winner.
Not always, though.
For the most part, but Trendmasters Anguirus has been a controversial fan favorite from the get-go. Toppled another fan favorite from the get-go.
Indeed.
Bandai Titanosaurus, one of the most dominant figures in the OIWF. And he did it clean. Without the Trendmasters of the universe. So, it's, how long will he hold the title? I don't know. Maybe it's just up to him. Ever since he lost that Mid-Atlantic title, it just seems like he's been on a path. And that path took him to the top of the mountain.
The first thing he did after he lost the Mid-Atlantic title was beat the shit out of Godzilla Earth in a steel cage.
Maybe that was what he needed.
Just beat the shit out of him.
Maybe that's what he needed, was that wake-up call?
No, I think he woke up the second that 3-count hit and he was no longer Mid-Atlantic champion. I think he realized, he was like, all right, you got me. Never again.
That's right.
And then he came back next time on a mission and he just desecrated Godzilla. Just beat the shit out of him, Chris.
He did. I don't know if that Godzilla has a family, but it's ugly. Just fucking ugly.
Still winless in that cage. I'm guessing that'll be an albatross that hangs over his head for all time.
And I don't know what the future holds for the former world champion. He might have to Bandai Titanosaurus.
Valiant effort.
Has nothing to be ashamed of. One of the most dominant champions one of those dominant competitors we've had in the OIWF.
He left it all in the ring.
I was looking at the numbers, crunching the numbers, and at the time that Anguirus and Titanosaurus met, the two most winningest competitors in the OIWF at that point in time. But, Anguirus is now at the top of the mountain. The former champ, Titanosaurus, I'm sure he'll dust himself off and get back on top. But that was just one of the several big goings-ons in the OIWF.
History was made.
What happened on your end of the island?
Oh.
Kes.
And no! Same thing. So Playmates Hong Kong Godzilla, one of the coolest Playmates figures, I think. He became the Intercontinental Champion before the last episode. By hook or by crook, he manipulated the system and he got his way and he won. However, he had to defend the title against one of the top shoot wrestlers of our industry, which is NECA Burning Godzilla from King of the Monsters, the cool orange one. I really like that figure. And what happened was Playmates Hong Kong Godzilla ran to a brick wall. Commissioner Slick, who is enforcing the rules, he isn't wanting more shenanigans from the Cursed Order. He came out there and said that Kong had to go with his axe. He's a distraction. NECA Burning Godzilla picked up the Intercontinental Belt, walloped Hong Kong Godzilla with it. And from that point on, it was just pretty much smooth sailing. We got the return of Playmates Gigan from Final Wars, and he had a hand to play in it as well. But then Burning Godzilla climbed that mountain. He did a great job in the tournament. Almost got there. GMK just edged him out in an all-time classic. But Burning Godzilla, your new Intercontinental Champion.
My word.
Not a single defense. First time in OIWF history that the champion lost the title in his first defense.
My word. What events going on? I feel like we're almost kind of hitting like a, I don't want to call it a reset point, but I feel like the deck has been cleared. A lot of big I can't say rivalries. A lot of big feuds have kind of come to their culmination. And now,
except for the Cursed Order versus the Cursed Order.
Oh, I mean, that's going to go on for eternity.
That's the outlier in this.
Yeah.
Everything else has sort of had a little bit of a reset.
Yeah. And I think it's time for new competitors to arise. We've been very title match heavy over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to suspect that's probably going to continue in the Intercontinental side.
I don't see how it can't.
I mean, it's the workhorse title. It's the workhorse title.
I'm going to shoot with you. I have a lot of figures in my AEW ring, so just the effort to take them all out and then put them back in that's kind of the worst part of this. So maybe in the next year or so that'll change. But for right now, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So you're going to get title matches from me.
Well, that's why. I have a. On my side of the island, there's a WWE Masters of the Universe ring that is empty with nothing in it that gets used for matchups that happened on my side of the island. But
there's a fun couple of weeks where I had that going on.
But I think from what I hear from the booking committee, I think there's going to be a little bit of a focus going forward on the Mid-Atlantic division. There needs to be some new competitors to rise up to challenge Bandai Shin Godzilla, who has just been a dominant force ever since. I mean, he squashed the current world champion, and as we were just talking about, and really,
it was personal though.
It was. That was a blood feud. I mean, it had one of the grossest bumps in OIWF history when Kamada-kun, or Bandai Shin Godzilla when he was still Bandai Kamada-kun, thrown from that scaffold by Trendmaster's Mecha King Ghidorah. Brutal. One of the most brutal spots in OIWF history, if not the most brutal.
Sounds like there might be a little more than meets the eye there between those two.
Could be some unfinished business there. And, we'll see some new competitors in the world title picture. I'm sure raise up, or, by new competitors, maybe some of the currently signed talent. We're just going to put a little bit more of a spotlight on the folks without straps right now to get them ready to take on our champions.
That'll probably be the case throughout the OIWF, except for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yep.
That's the workhorse belt.
Yeah. Workhorse title.
You need that for to draw the houses. So.
Yep. And you can find all this bullshit on our Twitter that we referenced at the top of the show at Odo Island Podcast.
Yeah. Odo Island Pod.
Odo Island Pod.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I'm so good at promoting, but I'm so bad at promoting the Twitter.
It's, we all have our strengths and weaknesses.
Which is funny because I type that so many times every Monday morning when I am posting our new episodes in a variety of places. And I still get it wrong.
And that's all you.
Here.
I don't do any of that. So, I barely promote my other podcast too. So it's just like, I'm more of the I'm done with it type.
Yep. It's, they posted multiple Reddit forums, multiple Facebook pages, Twitter, some Discord channels.
I used to work in marketing, but we had a long conversation between takes of this, and I feel like now I don't do it anymore.
Yep. But I guess that wraps up the kayfabe.
It would, except I just got some breaking news.
What's that?
Burning Godzilla will defend the Intercontinental Championship in a return bout against Hong Kong Godzilla. No DQ, anything goes. There are no rules.
So how AEW has a lights out match, this is going to be a Hong Kong lights match?
This is a Hong Kong... I love your wit. I love it. Cheers, bud. That was good. Yep. It's a Hong Kong lights out match.
Okay.
Good job.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
You got a star sticker for that one. But, that does it for me.
Well, that ends the kayfabe portion of the show. If you stuck around this long, you probably want to hear what we're going to do next. We're going to do the indie darling of the kaiju world. We're going to watch Howl from Beyond the Fog, a movie that neither of us have seen, but is, held in high regard, out there in the world.
I'm down for it.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So, this is probably one of the, if not the, outside of when Godzilla vs. Kong came out and Singular Point, stuff like that, this is neither of us have any background with this whatsoever.
Yes, so we're both going into it the way I go into some of these things.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique dynamic. So,
so that'll probably be a fun podcast to talk about. Neither of us have any experience with a movie, and because I go to a lot of these dry, and then I come out and I'm like, oh, all right, cool.
I've heard a lot of positive things about this. I don't know too much about it, other than I think it's all kind of marionettes and puppets and stuff, and that sounds kind of cool. And I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. And me being the deal maker that I am, I bartered this into the situation. The episode after that, the only other movie we've done like this is Gorgo. We're going to do Troll Hunter.
Troll Hunter is a
Scandinavian.
Scandinavian? Okay.
So this is role reversal. I am the one who's seen this movie 3 times now. And you've never seen it.
I've never seen it. In fact, I was going to say, that's a Korean-made movie, but it's Scandinavian.
And I've pushed for it for a while. I'm like, let's watch Troll Hunter. Let's do that. This is the first time where I'm kind of the expert of the movie, even though my expertise is just watching the movie.
Well, you'll be setting the table.
I will set the table that time. That'll be an interesting dynamic.
I'll react to it and go wow.
Wow.
Try to get my own Owen Wilson.
Loki, wow.
Wow, yeah, wow.
That's one of Seth Meyers' impressions. I always appreciate. He does the Wedding Crashers impressions. Buddy, come on.
So, an exciting couple of weeks coming up. We'll see you then.
You got anything you want to say to the audience before we go?
Wow.